We have set forth the details of obligatory prayer in another tablet. Blessed is he who observeth that whereunto he hath been bidden by him who ruleth over all mankind. In the prayer for the dead, 6 specific passages have been sent down by God, the revealer of verses. Let one who is able to read recite that which hath been revealed, to precede these passages. And as for him who is unable, God hath relieved him of this requirement. He of a truth is the mighty, the pardoner. Hair doth not invalidate your prayer, nor aught from which the spirit hath departed, such as bones and the like. Ye are free to wear the fur of the sable as you would that of the beaver, the squirrel, and other animals. The prohibition of its use hath stemmed not from the Koran, but from the misconceptions of the divines. He verily is the all-glorious, the all-knowing. We have commanded you to pray and fast from the beginning of maturity. This is ordained by God, your Lord, and the Lord of your forefathers. He hath exempted from this those who are weak from illness or age, as a bounty from his presence, and he is the forgiving, the generous. God hath granted you leave to prostrate yourselves on any surface that is clean, for we have removed in this regard the limitation that had been laid down in the book. God indeed hath knowledge of that whereof ye know not. Let him that findeth no water for ablution repeat 5 times the words, "In the name of God, the most pure, the most pure," and then proceed to his devotions. Such is the command of the Lord of all worlds. In regions where the days and nights grow long, let times of prayer be gauged by clocks and other instruments that mark the passage of the hours. He verily is the expounder, the wise. We have absolved you from the requirement of performing the prayer of the signs. On the appearance of fearful natural events, call ye to mind the might and majesty of your Lord, he who heareth and seeth all, and say, "Dominion is God's, the Lord of the seen and the unseen, the Lord of creation." It hath been ordained that obligatory prayers to be performed by each of you individually, save in the prayer for the dead, the practice of congregational prayer hath been annulled. He of a truth is the ordainer, the all-wise. God hath exempted women who are in their courses from obligatory prayer and fasting. Let them instead, after performance of their ablutions, give praise unto God, repeating 95 times between the noon of one day and the next, "Glorified be God, the Lord of splendor and beauty." Thus hath it been decreed in the book, if ye be of them that comprehend. When traveling, if ye should stop and rest in some safe spot, perform ye, men and women alike, a single prostration in place of each unsaid obligatory prayer, and while prostrating say, "Glorified be God, the Lord of might and majesty, of grace and bounty." Whoso is unable to do this, let him say only, "Glorified be God." This shall assuredly suffice him. He is of a truth the all-sufficing, the ever-abiding, the forgiving, compassionate God. Upon completing your prostrations, seat yourselves cross-legged, men and women alike, and 18 times repeat, "Glorified be God, the Lord of the kingdoms of earth and heaven." Thus doth the Lord make plain the ways of truth and guidance, ways that lead to one way, which is this straight path. Render thanks unto God for this most gracious favor. Offer praise unto him for this bounty that hath encompassed the heavens and the earth. Extol him for this mercy that hath pervaded all creation. Say, "God hath made my hidden love the key to the treasure. Would that ye might perceive it. But for the key, the treasure would to all eternity have remained concealed. Would that ye might believe it." Say, "This is the source of revelation, the dawning place of splendor, whose brightness hath illumined the horizons of the world. Would that you might understand. This is verily that fixed decree, through which every irrevocable decree hath been established. O pen of the Most High, say, O people of the world, we have enjoined upon you fasting during a brief period, and at its close have designated for you Nowruz as a feast. Thus hath the day star of utterance shone forth above the horizon of the book, as decreed by him who is the Lord of the beginning and the end. Let the days in excess of the months be placed before the month of fasting. We have ordained that these, amid all nights and days, shall be the manifestations of the letter Ha, and thus they have not been bounded by the limits of the year and its month. It behooveth the people of Baha throughout these days to provide good cheer for themselves, their kindred, and beyond them the poor and needy, and with joy and exultation to hail and glorify their Lord, to sing his praise and magnify his name. And when they end these days of giving that precede the season of restraint, let them enter upon the fast. Thus hath it been ordained by him who is the Lord of all mankind. The traveler, the ailing, those who are with child or giving suck are not bound by the fast. They have been exempted by God as a token of his grace. He verily is the Almighty, the most generous. These are the ordinances of God that have been set down in the books and tablets by his most exalted pen. Hold ye fast unto his statutes and commandments, and be not of those who, following their idle fancies and vain imaginings, have clung to the standards fixed by their own selves, and cast behind their backs the standards laid down by God. Abstain from food and drink from sunrise to sundown, and beware lest desire deprive you of this grace that is appointed in the book. It hath been ordained that every believer in God, the Lord of judgment, shall each day, having washed his hands and then his face, seat himself, and turning unto God, repeat, Allahu Abha 95 times. Such was the decree of the Maker of the heavens, when with majesty and power he established himself upon the thrones of his names. Perform ye likewise ablutions for the obligatory prayer. This is the command of God, the incomparable, the unrestrained. Ye have been forbidden to commit murder or adultery, or to engage in backbiting or calumny. Shun ye then what hath been prohibited in the holy books and tablets. We have divided inheritance into 7 categories. To the children we have allotted 9 parts comprising 540 shares. To the wife 8 parts comprising 480 shares. To the father 7 parts comprising 420 shares. To the mother 6 parts comprising 360 shares. To the brothers 5 parts or 300 shares. To the sisters 4 parts or 240 shares. And to the teachers 3 parts or 180 shares. Such was the ordinance of my forerunner, he who extolleth my name in the night season, and at the break of day. When we heard the clamor of the children as yet unborn, we doubled their share and decreased those of the rest. He of a truth hath power to ordain whatsoever he desireth, and he doeth as he pleaseth by virtue of his sovereign might. Should the deceased leave no offspring, their share shall revert to the house of justice, to be expended by the trustees of the All-Merciful on the orphaned and widowed, and on whatsoever will bring benefit to the generality of the people, that all may give thanks unto their Lord, the All-Gracious, the Pardoner. Should the deceased leave offspring, but none of the other categories of heirs that have been specified in the book, they shall receive 2/3 of the inheritance, and the remaining third shall revert to the house of justice. Such is the command which hath been given in majesty and glory by him who is the all-possessing, the Most High. If the deceased should leave none of the specified heirs, but have among his relatives nephews and nieces, whether on his brother's or on his sister's side, 2/3 of the inheritance shall pass to them, or lacking these to his uncles and aunts on both his father's and his mother's side, and after them to their sons and daughters. The remaining third of the inheritance shall in any case revert to the seat of justice. Thus hath it been laid down in the book by him who ruleth over all men. Should the deceased be survived by none of those whose names have been recorded by the pen of the Most High, his estate shall in its entirety revert to the aforementioned seat, that it may be expended on that which is prescribed by God. He verily is the ordainer, the omnipotent. We have assigned the residence and personal clothing of the deceased to the male, not female offspring, nor to the other heirs. He verily is the munificent, the all-bountiful. Should the son of the deceased have passed away in the days of his father and have left children, they will inherit their father's shares prescribed in the book of God. Divide ye their share amongst them with perfect justice. Thus have the billows of the ocean of utterance surged, casting forth the pearls of the laws decreed by the Lord of all mankind. If the deceased should leave children who are underage, their share of the inheritance must be entrusted to a reliable individual, or to a company, that it may be invested on their behalf in trade and business until they come of age. The trustee should be assigned assigned a due share of the profit that hath accrued to it from being thus employed. Division of the estate should take place only after the Baha'u'llah hath been paid, any debts have been settled, the expenses of the funeral and burial defrayed, and such provision made that the deceased may be carried to his resting place with dignity and honor. Thus hath it been ordained by him who is the Lord of the beginning and the end.